Hello, in this video I will be making a tier list of all the Regulation G Pokemon. Well, not all, just the restricted legendaries. So yeah, let's get into it. If you like these kind of videos, like and subscribe, and yeah, let's get straight to the D tier. The D tier is what I consider Pokemon that you shouldn't really be using at all. They're just severely outclassed by any other Pokemon in the format, and no niche, really. First is Calyrex, which might sound surprising, but I'm not talking about the two other broken forms. I'm just talking about base Calyrex, which is absolutely horrible. So very low BST, and there's no real reason of using it. Because there's so much, every other psychic type in the format's just better. Then we have Necrozma, who is outclassed by both of his other forms. That's a pretty weird stat distribution, and other psychic types just beat it. Then we have Kyurem. Kyurem's other two forms also outclass it, kind of like Necrozma. And yeah, all the other Pokemon of its type, like Dragon, outclass it. And then we have Mewtwo, which is kind of sad to see because I really like Mewtwo, but it's just can't hold up today. It's not fast enough and does pretty good damage, but it's just not good all around. The ability is, it just holds it back from greatness so much, and every Pokemon that has a psychic type, most of the other psychic type Pokemon could just outclass it. Pretty unfortunate. And now moving on to the C tier, which is extremely large. And these are Pokemon that you can find a niche for, but most of the other Pokemon are better. So starting off with Duskmane Necrozma, who is just a little bit worse than Segaleo in my opinion. He can be run in Trick Room, but his ability is just a little worse than his, and his speed is very weird. It's a little too slow for Trick Room. It's a little too fast for Trick Room, but can't really be used to outspeed a Tailwind. Next we have Eternatus, which is a very interesting Pokemon. It has a lot of HP, but it's not really too offensive. If you want to use a defensive Pokemon, you have Zamazenta, and if you want to use an offensive Pokemon, there's 30 billion others, so no real reason to use Eternatus. Next we have, I put Necrozma twice. That was on accident, just ignore that Necrozma. Next we have Dusk Wings Necrozma, who can be run in Trick Room like Duskmane, but it's just a little bit worse than normal Lunala. So yeah, there's not really a big reason to use it, and also Calyrex kind of poops on it a little. Next we have Black Kyurem, who's a pretty cool guy. I like Black Kyurem, but he's not crazy because he's mostly, there's a bunch of other physical attackers. Even though his attack is huge, he just can't do anything exceptional, and you can't really base a team around him unless you do Snow, but there's a better Snow Pokemon that you'll see later on the list. And next you have Segaleo, who has a very good ability. It's basically Clear Body, and you can run other items on it, so you can actually make a pretty good use for using Segaleo. Next we have Zekrom, who could honestly be in the D tier. It's just sad that he gets severely outclassed in every way by Miraidon. Next we have Reshiram. It's just, there's no real point in using Reshiram's special attack is pretty good. Everything's about it's pretty good, but it's just a bunch of Pokemon that are better than it. Next we have, oh my gosh, Giratina. I'm blanking on it. It can do decent damage, and Levitate is a very good ability, but it's just not as good as some other ghost types that you'll see later on the list. Actually, it's just one ghost type, but yeah, also not the best dragon. Next we have the Palkias. I feel like normal Palkia will be pretty good when there's 2 legendary rounds. It's decent in Trick Room, but there's no real point in using it in Trick Room. It's a very awkward Trick Room Pokemon compared to a different Pokemon on the list that you'll see later. And then the other ones just, it has, stats are just not, kind of a little offensive, but there's not really a point in using it because there's a bunch of better offensive legends. And then we have other Garantino, which is pretty sure basically the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Dialga, you could probably put in B tier. It counters a bunch of good legendaries and is pretty bulky, but just like not. If you want to use a bulky legendary, there's others. And this guy, I don't know. It's like he's decent, but he's a very good type combo. But so much Pokemon are just better and fit and can do more damage in a short amount of time and are more bulky. And the other one is just there. Yeah, I haven't seen him. He's not that good. He's not horrible. And then Lugia, who was one of my favorite legendaries, is lower on the list because multi-scale, some other Pokemon laws have ability like it, and they just outperform Lugia, and Lugia just can't do too much damage. But it can work in weakness policy, and it has niches, so you can definitely use it. Moving on to the B tier, we have these 4 Pokemon. And so starting off the list, we have White Kyurem. White Kyurem is a very, very strong snow setter. Well, not snow setter, it's good in snow. It's pretty bulky and can use Assault Vest to be in snow, not doubling, 1.5ing its special attack. Not special attack, what am I yapping about? Defense and special defense, which is amazing. It's really bulky, and especially under Aurora Veil, and it has an absurdly good special attack stat. So you can definitely use it. Next we have Hoa, who's pretty offensive, and it can actually do a lot of damage. It also is pretty defensive too, which is nice. It's defensive by using Sacred Fire, which is 100 base power, and can 50% chance to burn, which is absolutely crazy, and shutting down physical attackers. So yeah, it actually does decent damage too. And you can also run Tailwind on it, so it could be a little bit of a support. Then we have Lunala, who despite having 4 times weakness to Calyrex Shadow, is still thriving because it basically has multi-scale. And yeah, it's Trick Room, it has Meteor Beam, it has a very good moveset with the Moongeist Beam, Psychic, Psyshock, Trick Room. It's just excuse me, it runs very good with Terra too. You can run Moon Blast for extra fairy damage. Then we have Rayquaza, who's pretty underrated in my opinion. I could justify putting him in an A tier, but I feel like that's just a little biased for me. You can use Swords Dance, Protect, Dragon Ascent, Extreme Speed. He doesn't even need to invest too much speed because he can just do a stupid amount of damage when Swords Dance is up. His attack and special attack are crazy, and with Extreme Speed, it doesn't really matter too much about his nailing speed stat. So using Swords Dance, Dragon Ascent, Protect E-Speed is a great strategy. And you should watch the 2 videos I used him with. So yeah, Rayquaza is actually pretty good. Now moving on to the A tier. The A tier are Pokemon who are really good and you can see using on a lot of teams, but there are some Pokemon that are even better than them. So we have these 5. I feel like I'm being a little generous putting Zacian here, because Zacian is but it's still Zacian. I feel like it's just not being used to its full potential right now, because there's a bunch of new, cooler Pokemon and new strategies. But Zamazenta can definitely creep back up in the metagame. It's also hard to focus a whole team around Zamazenta, if you know what I mean. I mean Zacian, I did not mean to say that. Next we have Groudon, who's also a little bit of a fraud. He's okay, he's actually really good. Never mind. You can use Precipice Blades, he's really bulky. He runs very different to Groudon. They're both 2 different Sunsetters that can do 2 different things. He also does really good damage. And he's not too fast, so he can work in both Trick Room and Tailwind. But he's mostly just sets the sun and then does big boy damage, while the other Sun members who work in Sun, like Photosynthesis guys, can just go berserk. Groudon works pretty similarly, except Sun, and the Groudon does so much damage. It has a really good moveset with Flare Blitz, Flame Charge, Dragon Claw, Collision Course. Works really well with Clear Amulet like Groudon. Very good physical attacker that you can use in a lot of places. So, yeah, both of these guys are pretty good Sunsetters. The best Sunsetters around, actually. Next we have Kyogre, who can just do a lot of damage. It's a pretty good is a very good way to set up water, and water isn't being used too much now, but it definitely can with Archaludon being actually really flippin' crazy. And yeah, there's just a lot of Pokemon that benefit from Kyogre's water. So yeah, you can definitely use Kyogre in a lot of teams. He's also does crazy damage. Water is just overall very good types, and he also gets pretty good move pool with a Water Spout, Origin Pulse, Thunder, Ice Beam. Yeah, it's just a lot of good reasons to Kyogre. Next, we have my personal favorite out of the A tier is Terapagos. I used to have videos in Terapagos, and Terapagos is actually really, really good. I could see it being on the S tier, honestly, but I just put it on A because it is a little hard to set up. So, Terapagos can use Calm Mind, Meteor Beam, and just get special attack, special defense up so much. Its supporting members like Incineroar can just make sure this thing never dies. Combined with like a Moongus who can just heal it. It works so well in Trick Room. It can do so much damage. Terapagos is honestly crazy. It's such a good Pokemon. Its defense and its ability is so good. It can every move is not very effective when you're using it against Terapagos, which is very, very strong. So yeah. And so when it turns into its other form, it can just annihilate every other Terra Pokemon. It does massive spread damage with a 120 base power attack that hits both opponents, and it gets boosted by the Terra Stellar. It's just so good, and the ability of the Terrestrial form just gets rid of every other weather condition, like every other condition, including surges like Grassy, Electric, and shut down Miraidon, Rillaboom, and Kyogre, Koraidon, Groudon. It's just so good. I kind of wanted to put it in S tier, but I know not everybody realizes how good Terapagos is, so I'll just leave it in A tier. And now, last but not least, we have the S tiers. These Pokemon are extremely good and are found on a lot of teams. These Pokemon can carry a team to victory with ease, and they each have a trait that makes them extremely broken. Starting off with Calyrex Ice Rider, the best Trick Room Pokemon ever, in my opinion. It can set up Trick Room on its own, or have a partner do it, which sets up extreme mind games because you have to attack one or the other. And this thing is so extremely bulky, you can't really kill it in one turn, and it usually, like 89% of the time, just sets up Trick Room, then completely sweeps you. Clear Amulet helps this Pokemon so much. It's hard to drop its stats now with that. And yeah, the speed of it is just so slow that nothing really can get slower than it. It's just so hard to eliminate and can do so much damage. It's a broken ability that just makes it get even more damage. It has a pretty decent move pool too. It's just, Ice Rider Calyrex is extremely good. And it's definitely one of the best, if not the best, Trick Room Pokemon ever, in my opinion. And next up, we have Zamazenta, who has the best redemption story ever. Just anything ever. Started out as like the worst Pokemon, worst legendary in it's Pokemon Sword and Shield, and now it's one of the best. So how did it get this far? So it got the new move Body Press, which is a new move, but it's new to it, where it does damage based off defense. So if you try to lower its attack, it can just use Body Press, which is stab, and its ability raises defense when it goes in for the first time. So yeah, it can do a lot of damage, and it has Iron Defense, which boosts its defense, And defense is like, you can't really, it's hard to kill with physical attacks too. And it's not like it's a pushover on the special defense side either. Its HP is pretty good too. Like, I mean, it's so bulky, and its bulk carries over to its damage output, which is really, really crazy. It also can abuse Terra so well. It's so cool to see Zamazenta doing good, and he's one of my favorite Pokemon to use in Reg G. Next, we have Ice Rider Calyrex. No, not Shadow Rider Calyrex. Rider Calyrex is just as good from Sword and Shield. It's extremely broken. It just works everywhere. Tailwind, support. Yeah, it can fit on any team because of how just absolutely absurd its damage output is. You can put nasty plot on it. You can do Terra Fairy Draining Kiss so it just doesn't die. It's easy to support with a wide guard. And yeah, it's just a great Pokemon overall. It abuses Terra well, and expanding force with Indeedee is absolutely stupid. There's just so much you can do with this guy. And yeah, and he also counters most legendaries because a lot of them are psychic. With its shadow type, with its ghost type. So yeah. He is just Shadow Calyrex, very, very good. And at the number 1 spot, we have Miraidon. Miraidon is so good. I need to find a new word for good, but you get the point. Miraidon has just stupid damage output. Its ability boosts its special attack for some reason, and also sets up electric terrain. So combined with Stab and those two, and also Choice Specs, and a lot of people are running Terra Electric on this thing to do even more damage. It basically one-shots almost everything in the game. People are finding ways to also just get around a Rillaboom and everything. Its Volt Switch is its best move. It won a regional recently. This thing just does crazy damage. Draco Meteor also annihilates a lot of things. Electro Drift, very good. Discharge, also very good. You can run Overheat, but yeah. Just everything about this guy. You can just take away the game, eliminate 2, 3 Pokemon, and then once you eliminate it, you realize, oh, my whole entire team's gone. Great. And then you lose. It's just Miraidon. It's a very, very good Pokemon. It can just do so much damage. And it deservingly deserves the 3rd best legendary. I'm gonna cut that part of the video out. And next, we have the S+ tier. For Cosmog and Cosmolem, these Pokemon do not need an introduction. They are absolutely broken. Thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one. Leave team ideas down and more video ideas down. And yeah, bye-bye.